Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So recently, we do know that the case has been settled between the SEC and Ripple. Now, I'm bringing this back up because one of the biggest things that we really kind of watched happen from this case being settled was the fact that XRP is completely cleared. XRP is not a security. We know that. And everyone that has been following this case also knows that at this point. I mean, even recently, Brad Garlinghouse went on Bloomberg TV and even said the same exact thing. I'm going to play this video clip real quick because it's very important for the arguments in this video.
The SEC has abandoned their appeal. And so they filed suit in December of 2020. We won on the key parts of the case in the summer of 23. Judge Torres made a ruling that XRP in and of itself was not a security. That's almost a verbatim quote. The SEC filed an appeal about 8 months ago. And what they've now agreed is that they're going to drop that appeal. We still have a cross appeal pending. And so we go from being defendant really to plaintiff. So we now are in the driver's seat to determine how we want to proceed.
Are you dropping it?
We're going to see. It feels a lot better to be on the offense than the defense. You know, 4 years, we spent over $150 million defending that case. Not just for Ripple, but for the whole industry. I think it was really important that this SEC, the Gensler SEC, was really trying to bully and continue lawfare, filing lawsuits and lawsuits and lawsuits against crypto companies. That's over now, and I think that's great for the U.S. crypto industry and, frankly, great for crypto at large. Well, I mean, at this point, all we're fighting for is, do we want to fight to get the $125 million back? Look, I'll be honest. Would I have walked away from that before they appealed, before President Trump put Paul Atkins and Scott Bessent and David Sachs as critical, key, very smart leaders in this industry to bring this industry back on shore? I would have walked away. Now you look at that, and you're like, this case in this SEC never would have been brought. And so where we find ourselves is great. There's a clear legal victory to say XRP is not a security. That was good for the industry. But there's pieces of it that we think could be kind of cleaned up. And the question is, do we want to fight that fight, or can we come to an agreement with the SEC?
So we do know that they came to the agreement, but the thing that he mentions there specifically is that XRP is not a security. Now, I bring all of this back up because of this announcement that we saw on the 23rd, which was new. The IMF says digitalization has created new financial services, products, and digital assets designed to be used as a means of payment or an act as a store of value. Now, what happened from this announcement? Because again, there's a lot of information in here. Basically, what ended up happening was a lot of people calling XRP a security because of this IMF document. For an example, over here we have Ripple CTO slams claim that XRP is a security by the IMF crypto classification, because that's exactly what this is. This is a classification of specific cryptocurrencies that could act as a means of payment, or B, an act of like a store of value, basically. Now, in this, we have Ripple Chief Technology Officer David Schwartz has criticized suggestions that XRP is a security according to the IMF's definition of a utility token. Now, one thing that I will say right now is, if you believe that the IMF actually thinks that XRP is a security, you have not been following all of the connections between Ripple and the IMF over the years. Within this, we have, for context, the IMF's new balance of payment manual, BPM7, classifies crypto assets according to whether or not they impose a financial claim or liability on the issuer. While the IMF argues that Bitcoin does not impose the liability due to the mining process, it suggests utility tokens, often referring to altcoins, do. Of course, you know, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the IMF, right, a global powerhouse around the financial system that has always continued to divert attention away from what actually matters, would come out and say, hey, guess what? Bitcoin is clean. Bitcoin's fine. Invest in Bitcoin, but don't touch altcoins. Would that really surprise you? Because it doesn't surprise me. It asserts that these assets are debt securities that offer holders future access to goods and services. This has led some to comment humorously that XRP is about to be listed as a security permanently. And a lot of these people are obviously, Bitcoin maxis or just complete clowns in this space. But one thing that I will say right now, okay, is that number one, David Schwartz completely silenced this claim. He said, if XRP is a utility token because you could use it to pay future transaction fees, then so are Bitcoin and Ethereum. It makes this argument is just ridiculous. The way that I actually perceive all of this is the IMF knows that if the IMF is making a statement, it's going to be a headline. Cointelegraph has always put out hit pieces on XRP, on HBAR, and on so many additional altcoins. Okay? They have over 2.6 million followers. This post alone got so much attention. But I say this because if the IMF is saying one thing, you have to look past it. You have to look beyond what the IMF is saying and, really kind of read between the lines. The IMF, just like almost every other organization out there, is not going to tell you the plan. They are going to divert your attention. They are going to distract you. They are going to tell you things that, they want you to hear. AKA, in this case, hey, Bitcoin's safe. Invest in Bitcoin. Don't look at the altcoins, because we know that Bitcoin is not viable for financial use cases. It's not going to be utilized for financial use cases at scale. It's not going to tokenize trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And it kind of goes back to my post from the 2023, July 8th of 2023. That's right. We're going back almost 2 years ago because I even said here that very interesting document from the IMF regarding reserve currencies and an evolving international monetary system. Some key findings are that the fact that variations in regulatory frameworks will lead to fragmentation in the currency use. The number one thing I have said is that the SEC is weightless, which we already know that it was and it is. They will not provide regulations for crypto. It will be a global harmonized approach. The FSB, the BIS, the IMF are all working on this with the G20 as we speak. The next interesting finding is payment systems. It directly states that new payment systems and some existing ones may offer the opportunity to settle in multiple currencies, reducing the need for vehicle and invoicing currencies going forward and moving the IMS towards decentralization. Remember that XRP and XLM have been mentioned in many IMF documents for their potential to be utilized as a bridge currency for settlements in multiple currencies. These are two decentralized currencies as well, which could move the IMS towards a more decentralized position like they mention. Last but not least, they do go on to mention the acceleration of digitalization and innovations around this sector. The best part about these documents isn't necessarily the connections to any particular assets, but the confirmation of the disruption behind them. We are getting closer each day. We still have a journey ahead of us, but I strongly believe that we will be on the right side of history. And this is that document from the IMF, and they completely tell us what's actually happening here. But what's crazier about this is Utility Theory did quote this, and he even said that the IMF is telling us there is a massive change coming to the global financial system. Even within this, we have the train has left the station, which Rosie Rios even said that about XRP, right? XRP's primary purpose is facilitating cross-border payments while other cryptos find their value in speculation. China's latest move brings this point home. And we also have the money revolution, a new era for money. As bytes replace dollars, euros, and renminbi, some changes will be welcome, others may not. Regulating crypto, the right rules could provide a safe space for innovation, a new era for money. I mean, guys, they've been telling us all along what's happening. All you have to do is read beyond the nonsense. Even over here, this is from Ripple's website, where the IMF, right? Ripple was selected to serve on the IMF's high-level advisory group on fintech. But XRP is going to be, labeled as a security permanently, even though it just got cleared as a currency and not a security in the court of law. I mean, these people can't be serious. But on top of that, right, we go over here. In 2017, the IMF managing director welcomes establishment of high-level advisory group on fintech. Look who is on the board. And if we actually look here, we could see the full breakdown of this from the IMF and what this actually is. It's a ISO committee that was created back in 2016 to develop standards to stimulate greater interoperability, speedier acceptance, and enhance innovation in the use and application of blockchain technology. And we have, of course, Chris Larson, executive chairman of Ripple. The DTCC is on here, BBVA, which is a partner of Ripple as well. There's a lot of big players on here. The Bank of Canada, for an example, and of course, Circle. I mean, again, connections right back to Ripple. And even over here, this is where we kind of get to that big meeting with the high-level advisory group of the IMF's Interdepartmental Working Group on Finance and Technology. This was in 2019. And of course, Brad Garlinghouse right there alongside some of the biggest players out there. I know that this is old images, right? These are old images. These are old, announcements. But the fact that this still is a thing, right? Like the fact that these happen with Ripple in mind. I know that a lot has happened since 2017, 2016, all those kind of big announcements that we know. A lot of this stuff is up to date. Like this document is up to date. This is from 2023. I could go and look at documents from 2024, even this year as well from the IMF or the World Bank or the BIS. I mean, we know that Ripple's still on the BIS's CPMI group, right? Which is instructed by the G20, the same G20 that's instructing the FSB, the BIS, and even the IMF to bring in a harmonized framework for crypto. Like when we think about these connections back to Ripple, why would XRP be labeled as a security? Everyone that is actually looking at these claims that XRP is going to be a security because of what the IMF is telling them, they are being distracted, but they're also getting their attention diverted away from the facts. Okay? We know for a fact that Bitcoin is not going to power the future of finance. We know Ethereum is not going to power the future of finance. Like when we think about the demand, the scale in which is needed to do half of these big, ideas that are being planned by the DTCC or, Swift, because we know Swift is also working on DLT POCs. When we think about what's actually happening here, Bitcoin and Ethereum are not going to be the ones that are going to reap the rewards of this. It's going to be DLTs and crypto projects like XRP, HBAR, XLM, Algo that are very efficient, that can scale, that can settle in seconds. I mean, it's comical that people are still getting their attention diverted away from these old coins that actually have the tech behind them to do this because of what the IMF is telling them or what BlackRock is doing. I see it all the time with what BlackRock is doing. Oh, Ethereum's the chosen one. Get out of XRP, get out of this, that, whatever. XRP has outperformed Ethereum and Bitcoin over the last year in a severe way. So when we think about what's actually happening, imagine if you followed all the headlines. Imagine if you followed everyone saying that, oh, it's not XRP, it's Ethereum or it's Bitcoin. You would be in a loss right now on Ethereum and your gains on Bitcoin would be very minimal. This is why I say you need to focus on the facts. You need to read between the lines and you cannot get distracted at this time. I'm telling you guys, a lot of what we see around this space is noise. Understand the facts, understand the tech, do your own research because it's crucial at this point. It's extremely valuable to know what you are putting your money into. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.